All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. It looks like most folks are connected to audio now, so we will begin. Just wanted to thank everyone for attending today. My name is Kevin Drakulik, and I'm part of the marketing team here at Unitrends. And I just have a couple of general housekeeping items before we get started today. First and foremost, everybody on the call today is on listen-only mode, so that means that we cannot hear you. So if you'd like to ask a question, I strongly encourage you guys to use the Q&A or the chat functionality on the right-hand side of the WebEx. The more questions that we have, the better. This is supposed to be informative, and we want it to be engaging for you guys. So if you have any questions, go ahead and use the Q&A functionality on the right-hand side. And also, we are going to be recording this webinar today, and we'll send you guys a copy at the conclusion of the event today. So be on the lookout for that. Secondly, everyone in attendance has been entered to win a $500 Amazon gift card. So we will be reaching out with the winner at the conclusion of the event today. And thirdly, if you guys haven't already, go ahead and follow us and like us on LinkedIn and Facebook. We're constantly doing webinars such as this one, and we have educational events as well, and a bunch of other great content on there. So go ahead and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook to attend more events such as this one. So with all those first details taken care of, I'm going to turn it over to Max Lindauer, who is our solutions engineer, who's going to run us through today's webinar.
Thanks so much, Kevin, and thank you so much, everybody here on the call for coming and take a little bit of time to listen and hear a little bit about the differences and some of the similarities between Unitrends and Veeam and really how to make the choice between them. So I'm going to kick things off just with a quick polling question just to kind of understand who's on the call, what solution everybody is using. So I'm going to kick it back to Kevin for the polling question here.
Perfect. Thank you, Max. Yeah, just want to get a quick feel for the room here. Go ahead and answer there. Just want to see, what are you currently using for backup in DR today? Are you using Unitrends, Veeam? Maybe you're using a combination of solutions, or maybe you're using someone else. So go ahead, take some time here and respond to that poll question now. All right, some answers coming in. I'm going to leave it open for about 20 more seconds, so go ahead and get your answers submitted. All right, great. It looks like everyone has submitted an answer, so I'll turn it back to you, Max.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Kevin, and thanks everybody for participating in the poll. Seems to be a pretty good split. We have some Unitrends customers here today, a lot of Veeam customers as well, and a few of you guys using someone else, and a lot of you guys are using multiple solutions to manage backup and disaster recovery. So we'll go in a kind of that throughout the presentation and demo today. So just to get started, Veeam and Unitrends are both leaders in the backup and recovery space. And the choice between can often be confusing because they're seemingly similar offerings, and there's certainly overlapping claims between the two. But when you really take a look, the details between the solution vary, and the knowledge that we're going to be presenting should help guide you into making the best decision. So in terms of the full write-up on where the material for this presentation came from, you can take a look at this website page that outlines some of the major differences between the two solutions that we're going to be going over today. So just a little bit on company overviews and where we all started. Veeam was founded in 2006. It's a privately held company. The name itself just comes from the pronunciation of VM, as in a virtual machine. And the growth has been certainly through acquisitions. And in terms of their focus, it's really focused, at least initially, on protecting VMware environments. Unitrends, however, was founded over 20 years ago in the late 80s. It is also privately held, but it was the first to offer bare metal restores of Unix systems. That's where the Uni and Unitrends comes from. And today we offer disk-based appliances, tiered backup with high-density disks, integrated backup and DR testing that's automated for both failover and fail back to your environment. We are the first solution in the backup and DR space to offer multiple DR as a service SLA agreements guaranteeing recovery time in the Unitrends cloud with options for infinite retention. And we also have our own purpose-built cloud as well as integrating to public clouds as well. So I'm going to kick it back to Kevin for the second polling question of the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you, Max. Yeah, this is just a quick one. I just want to see, of those in attendance, are you reevaluating your backup solution by the end of the year? I know that oftentimes you do see people kind of reevaluate towards the end of Q4, getting ready to kick off Q1 of the next calendar year. So just wanted to see if anyone in the room is currently reevaluating their backup solution. So go ahead. I'll leave this poll open for about 10 to 15 seconds here and get your answers submitted. All right, I see some people still finishing up. I'll leave it open for about 10 more seconds. All right, great. I'll turn it back to you, Max.
Thanks, Kevin, and again, thanks everybody for participating. Definitely see a pretty even split between yes and no. For the folks who are currently evaluating, obviously webinars like this and running evaluations and proof of concepts of the solution is the best way to really understand what solution would work best for you. And for the people who are just looking, who aren't reevaluating, just want to learn a little bit more, props to you for staying current on the industry, and absolutely thankful for you guys joining in today. So in terms of the comparison of the solution and the environments that you're protecting, Veeam, though it is a fairly simple solution to deploy, actively managing, especially within larger scale environments, can be fairly complex. There are a lot of different Windows servers and proxy servers that need to be created, especially for larger environments, to run the backup and replication. And it definitely includes and requires multiple vendors, both for hardware appliances through Exagrid or cloud solutions through MSPs, that all have different support contracts and can oftentimes lead to pain when it comes to support and general finger pointing. Unitrends, on the other hand, is an all-in-one backup and DR solution. Very simple to deploy as well, either as an all-in-one physical appliance or a virtual appliance in VMware, Hyper-V, Zen, or AHV. And in terms of larger scale environments, one central console can manage thousands of appliances. So if you have a larger scale environment or you're an MSP managing different customers or clients, Unitrends can be a great option to help you manage all of those different sites. And so Unitrends certainly wins out when it comes to the ease of use of the architecture here. And when it comes to protecting virtual machines, this is what Veeam does really well, right? Veeam is founded to provide protection for virtual machines. That's where the name Veeam came from, for VM. And they certainly have full VMware, vSphere support, compression, protecting those virtual volumes, and replication as well. With Unitrends is, like I mentioned, over 20 years old. So we didn't start out protecting virtual environments. We certainly started out protecting Unix systems and physical servers. We have now added inclusion for VMware, for Hyper-V, for Zen, and AHV for virtual environments, and have all of the same features and functionality when it comes to VM support. So this one's kind of a wash. If you're of a 100% virtual environment, the features and functionality on just the backup side, not much of a difference. When it comes to things like physical server protection and legacy environments, that's really where Unitrends can shine. And Veeam has now added support for physical servers, but there are constant challenges that we've seen and heard from current customers who are using Veeam or people using Veeam who are just taking a look. In terms of that agent, still on version 1, they had a 9-month beta program. And this is really where we shine and what our product was designed to do. So we were the first solution to support bare metal restores for Windows systems. There is no separate bare metal backup that's required. And now with our version 10.3, which is just released today, we now offer a block agent specifically for large Windows physical servers or VMs that increase the backup speed 1,000% for both backup and recovery of Windows servers. So Unitrends is going to take the cake on protection for physical servers here. And when it comes to legacy environments, again, Veeam does not have a full compatibility matrix even available on their website for what they support. Their focus is certainly on virtual environments. Unitrends has one of the most comprehensive compatibility and interoperability matrices in the industry, right? We protect over 250 hypervisors, operating systems going back to NT 3.1, and applications that are all listed directly on our website. So Unitrends is gonna win this one, and one of the things I really want to talk about here is ransomware and protecting your data against ransomware. One of the only 100% valid ways, or the easiest way to recover from a ransomware attack to avoid paying that ransom, is having valid backups, right? And ensuring that you can recover and avoid paying that ransom. Veeam is a Windows-based backup solution, and it's a very popular backup solution as well. Because of this, it's now being targeted directly by ransomware criminals to encrypt your Veeam backups first. We've had now current customers come to us after their Veeam backups were encrypted, and then Veeam replicated that encryption to their DRaaS site. They lost their backup copies as well. That is certainly not a place you would want to be. That is a bad call to get that all of your backup data and backup copy data was encrypted. With Unitrends, we're not a Windows-based solution. We're built on Linux, on a hardened Linux OS, giving you that added layer of security. And all of our physical and virtual appliances come with artificial intelligence that runs during every backup, calculates baseline change rates and data entropy levels for individual machines, and then detects abnormal behavior that's indicative of ransomware. We'll email you and kick off an alert in the dashboard, flag that backup, prevent replication, and really give you that added advantage from being able to recover quickly and addressing ransomware before it spreads throughout your environment and causes havoc and excess downtime. So Unitrends absolutely is one of the top choices when it comes to protecting ransomware. And that really leads me to the third polling question here. Going to kick it back to Kevin for that.
Thank you very much, Max. I'll go ahead and open it up here. So just out of curiosity, I just want to see everyone in the room. What are you currently hosting your production environment with? Is it all physical? Is it all virtual? Are you using a mixture of physical and virtual? Maybe you're already hosting it in the cloud, or perhaps it's kind of a mix of local and cloud. So go ahead, take a second here and respond, and we'll share the results here in a second. All right, still some people finishing up. I'll give you about 10 more seconds to lock your answers in. All right, and it looks like a good mix of both the mixture of physical and virtual, but also a pretty good mixture all throughout there too. So I'll turn it back to you, Max.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kevin. And again, thanks everybody for participating in the polling here. What I see here is kind of what I was expecting. There are certainly a few folks currently still using only physical servers, though the number of all virtual environments absolutely is high as well. Most people are using a mix of all physical and virtual, which is definitely what I hear most on calls. And now a few people as well are moving towards hosting their environment in the cloud. Not many 100% in the cloud. Most people are using a little bit of a mixture between local and cloud. But yeah, like Kevin mentioned, a good mix throughout, and certainly kind of what I was expecting to see, where most people have a mixture between physical and virtual environments. And really want to talk now about, in terms of the management. So I was talking a bit earlier about the architecture and the environments and the different systems that we protect and the differences there. I want to talk now just about the overall management of the solution. So in terms of deployment, Veeam does require multiple Windows VMs to deploy their product, needing new licenses for servers and new applications that are added to the data center as you work throughout your environment. With Unitrends, there is no need for licensing. Agents aren't licensed, applications aren't licensed, even the machines aren't licensed. The appliances themselves are just capacity-based. So it's just how much data do you have and what size appliance do you need. So if you're looking for a simple solution when it comes to management and quoting and licensing, Unitrends definitely wins when it comes to that. And when it comes to ease of use, Veeam and their collection of software products can require up to 10 different interfaces to perform backup and recovery functions when it comes to their local backup piece, cloud. And the interface is certainly complex, especially as you scale out into larger environments. Unitrends uses that single pane of glass, that single interface that allows you to manage and see the complete health of both your local backup, cloud, DR testing. And the Unitrends user interface requires 60% fewer clicks than is required with Veeam to back up, replicate, set up DR testing, and ultimately recover than with Veeam. So certainly with ease of use, Unitrends is going to win here as well. And going in terms of replication, WAN optimization, Veeam only uses the deduplication data within the same job on that server. So they absolutely market that they have great replication as part of WAN acceleration, but it's only included in their Enterprise Plus versioning of their software. And because of that, it uses much more storage to house all of these Veeam backups because the deduplication is not global, it's just job-based, versus Unitrends offers global adaptive inline deduplication. And now with our block agent with 10.3, we've included source-based deduplication, giving you a data reduction value of about 25 to 1 on average, making replication itself incredibly fast, as that data that's replicating is just the delta, just the changes that's already been deduplicated and compressed on the local Unitrends appliance. So Unitrends is going to win here as well. And one of the most important pieces of backup and disaster recovery planning is testing. And testing is one of those things that, from the folks that I've talked to, people know it's important. It's absolutely well understood why it's part of the best practices when it comes to DR. However, it's not often done as often as you'd like. The most often response I get to how are you doing DR testing today is when someone needs a file recovered, we recover it, and that's our test. But that doesn't give you the full insight and understanding of what the impact of an outage would be. And when it comes to Veeam, there are limited advanced testing capabilities. There is some automation for spin up of virtual labs, but advanced testing requires you to run your own scripts, and there's certainly a lot of manual setup and a whole separate bundled product for any types of reporting when it comes to testing. With Unitrends, testing is built in, gives you automated full DR testing both locally and in the cloud with little to no manual involvement from IT, apart from the initial setup. Our copy data management platform builds your entire infrastructure out on using the Unitrends resources to ensure full recovery capabilities and give you the insight on the actual RPO and RTO of your recovery and ensure that you are compliant. And then the reports from these tests are automatically emailed out to admins, anyone else in the organization who seems to care, even auditors. We have a lot of customers in the healthcare industry who use this feature set just to accomplish their HIPAA auditing when it comes to DR testing. So Unitrends definitely gives you an advantage when it comes to DR testing and that security piece of understanding any impact and really knowing that those backups are valid beyond just a green check mark from the backup itself, but that the recovery would work as expected. So this leads us to our last polling question here. I'm going to kick it back to Kevin.
Perfect. Thank you, Max. Yeah, last polling question here. Just want to get a general sense of how confident are you in meeting your RTO and RPO metrics in the event of a disaster such as ransomware? So maybe you're very confident, perhaps you're somewhat confident, maybe you're not 100% confident, but you still have a little bit of confidence, or maybe you don't even have set RTO or RPO metrics to meet, and that's totally fine as well. So go ahead and take a moment here and answer the final polling question. All right, just a couple more seconds here, and I'll let everyone submit their final answers. All right, perfect. Close that down, and I'll turn it back to you, Max.
Thanks, Kevin, and again, thanks everybody for participating in the polling today. It's great information for us to understand who's in the call and kind of some of the challenges that people are currently facing. So when it comes to how confident the folks on the call here went to meeting those RPO and RTO goals in the event of a disaster, only 2 people are very confident in their ability to recover. Another handful of people are somewhat confident, and most people are not confident or don't even have set RPO or RTO objectives to meet. And that is especially challenging when the business itself hasn't defined what the goals are for the backup and DR process, because it is a business decision at the end of the day. But as the folks here in IT certainly know, sometimes it is the job of IT not only to manage and develop your IT infrastructure, but to educate your business leaders and to really understand what the impact of an outage would be and do that analysis of how much downtime is acceptable, how much data loss is acceptable. And with Unitrends, that data copy access feature, we give you full reporting to understand that you're meeting those goals so that you can understand if those goals are realistic and what the impact of a disaster would be to your business. So one of the last things I want to go over here is service or support. And with backup and DR, especially with the DR piece and business continuity aspects, support is incredibly important. If your data center floods or there's a fire or ransomware, whatever disaster there may be, and your boss is breathing down your neck and your business can't be up and running, having someone that you can easily access through support that can address your issues and solve them quickly is invaluable. And Veeam uses some US-based support, but most of their support is overseas to support and develop their US-based customers. All Veeam pricing includes basic support, which only covers 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays. With Unitrends, we have 100% US-based support down in our engineering and support office in Columbia, South Carolina. That's available 24/7, 365. So we put a huge amount of focus and our resources into that support team, giving us an industry-leading 99% customer satisfaction rating. Now, Kevin and I sit up here in the Boston office where sales and corporate leadership sits. Every morning we get an email from the VP of support with every single support case that had closed the day previous and feedback. And we really value customer feedback and customer input, even to the point where the last release 10.2, 90% of the changes were customer suggestions. So we really want to hear about how we can help make the product better and to quickly address any problems or issues our customers may have or any disaster scenarios, right? And I've been going to a lot of different conferences and events throughout the country this year, whether it was VMworld or Ignite, or I was recently at the HEC conference, the Hoosier Educational Conference down in Indiana. A lot of Unitrends customers there, and the one piece of feedback I hear constantly is that Unitrends support is unbelievable and really helps them feel confident no matter what happens that their business will stay online. So really, I want to give a great kudos to the Unitrends support. Unfortunately, I don't believe that 99% customer satisfaction rating has anything to do with my webinars, but it's definitely the hands of that US-based support team down in Columbia who are doing a great job in addressing issues that any of our customers may face. So one of the last comparisons I want to make is regarding cloud and DR. So when it comes to cloud, Veeam doesn't have their own cloud. They depend on Cloud Connect with different partners and MSPs to support cloud. That can ultimately lead to service and general support issues. Having multiple vendors throughout this whole process just leads to multiple roadblocks and pain points and frustration and ultimately finger pointing when something does go wrong. With Unitrends, we absolutely integrate into public clouds like Amazon, Google, Rackspace, Microsoft Azure, but we also have our own purpose-built cloud platform. And with this purpose-built cloud, there's no ingress or egress fees. It's all supported and managed through the same support team down in Columbia, South Carolina. We even integrate into public clouds, like I mentioned, like AWS and Azure. So with the purpose-built cloud, that fixed cost and that DR Unitrends absolutely wins this round when it comes to our cloud offering. And not only do we have the cloud offering for like replicating data off-site, but we also, both Unitrends and Veeam, have solutions that can protect your cloud workloads in Microsoft or Amazon's cloud. And both of the virtual appliances here are sold and deployed through that Azure or AWS marketplace, and can be deployed to protect both files and applications within the cloud. So in terms of just cloud workload protection, it's going to be a tie here. It's kind of a wash. We both have fairly similar features and functionality, but when you tie it into our own cloud and DR as a service, even that local testing piece, Unitrends certainly has an advantage, because a lot of Unitrends customers who are hosting their data in the cloud, which a lot of the folks here on the call are as well, will replicate their data to the Unitrends cloud in case there's a public cloud outage, right? So I was just at the Microsoft conference, the Ignite down in Orlando, and if you believe it, no one was really talking much about how Microsoft Azure went down for over 14 hours due to a lightning storm. So just because you have your data hosted in public clouds does not mean you don't need to think about or consider how you're managing backup and DR out of that service. If you depend 100% on Amazon for having your business running, and Amazon's data center goes down, which certainly happens periodically, as well as Microsoft, you are kind of dependent on them to keep your business. So replicating to a secondary cloud, either from your local site or from that cloud-based workloads, can help you manage the DR. And because Veeam doesn't have their own cloud, it doesn't support DR as a service. So any users who are wishing to have this capability have to work through that third-party cloud provider to see if they're able to manage and accomplish that. And with Unitrends, because we have our own cloud and our own dedicated team of engineers there, we offer DR as a service with white glove, which just means you have a local disaster and you've paid for DR as a service and your data's in our cloud. We will guarantee recovery with a certain SLA with the same IP, network mask, gateway, boot order information like you'd have locally, all with a phone call in that SLA. So there's not a lot of effort on your end to manage that, and it's really, really simple. There's no training required, and failover happens just with that single phone call. And just to highlight how this works, I do want to pull up our DR services prep kit. This is all you'd fill out. If you purchase DR as a service, you'd fill out the client name, IP address, network mask, gateway, operating system, boot order, function, if they're clustered, so that we know what your environment looks like. And then we're constantly doing automated DR testing, even allowing you to do full cutover, failover testing throughout the year to know that if there is a disaster event, it's not going to be the first time we're spinning up this environment in our cloud. It's already been tested, and your users would connect to that environment in our cloud through an SSL VPN connection or through an IPsec tunnel directly from the router. So again, when it comes to that SLAs, Veeam cloud providers, some of them do offer different services and SLAs, but it's really difficult to understand what you'll get, and you really got to do a lot of research and hunt and search for what services you'll need and will be offered by that particular provider. Because of this, Veeam itself does not offer any SLAs for their DRaaS services, and they really require you to do the heavy lifting. With Unitrends, we offer a full environment recovery in our cloud with 1 hour or 24-hour SLAs, depending on what machines you need up when. And businesses, in this way, businesses can really ensure that critical applications are given a higher priority for recovery and will never be down for more than an hour due to this SLA. When there's real teeth here, this isn't like a sales guy's promise of a 1 hour recovery. This is a legally binding SLA guarantee. So Unitrends definitely going to take the cake here and win this round. So in conclusion, Veeam and Unitrends certainly on the surface look like similar solutions, but like most things, the devil's in the details. So Veeam certainly has a sweet spot for totally virtualized environments, especially if they're only using VMware. Fairly good for smaller solutions or smaller environments with 1 or maybe 2 locations. And in terms of cloud, there's really no integrated Veeam cloud. You have to work through that third party. With Unitrends, our sweet spot is complexity and really flexibility. We're not going to bottleneck your IT environment. We're not going to force you into one way of doing things. And we really fit well within larger data centers, especially if you have a handful of physical servers or different hypervisors. Now we've added support for hyper-converged infrastructure with Nutanix and their Acropolis hypervisor, allowing you to manage multiple solutions all through remote management through that single UI, protecting legacy applications, legacy operating systems, as well as protecting cloud workloads as well. So one of the only constants in IT and in the world in general is change. In IT, it seems to be changing faster than ever. Having a solution like Unitrends allows you to feel confident to change the way your environment is currently managed and hosted and configured without having to change a different backup and DR solution. The Unitrends solution can adapt and manage your backup and DR no matter whether you're all physical today, moving to virtual, even help with that migration or moving to the cloud or looking for kind of more of a hybrid either SMB or enterprise environment. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more, certainly visit unitrends.com. We have a DR health check, or you can go and just request a demo. Absolutely talk to one of our continuity experts as well. And really in conclusion, the Unitrends offering gives you simplicity. All through one vendor, there's no possibility for finger pointing. We are that one throat to choke when it comes to managing your overall backup and continuity, giving you less work ultimately when it comes to managing that solution. Automated testing with recovery assurance, giving you that confidence for both local and cloud continuity, all in a purpose-built, hardened Linux environment, giving you that added security against ransomware with 100% US-based support, giving you that higher level of customer satisfaction. So please follow us on all the appropriate social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google, and YouTube as well. We're constantly promoting different webinars like this, as well as different events and lunch and learns that we're doing. I do want to highlight for the folks on the call who haven't seen the Unitrends solution, I do just want to jump into the interface and run a quick demo. And if anybody has any particular questions or key areas of focus that they'd like me to hit on during the demo, love for you to chat it in now, just so I can kind of understand what it is that folks are concerned about or what they really want to learn about the Unitrends solution as is. So I'm going to give folks a few minutes here, or a few seconds just to chat in any questions they have about the interface, any key features they want to see before I jump in and kind of run through a quick demo of the solution. Okay, great. So I'm seeing some great questions regarding that automated DR testing, so I'll absolutely dive into that, as well as virtual machine recovery from snapshots, so I'll absolutely touch on that as well. So yeah, keep the questions coming. I'll try to hit on all of the questions and focus areas that people are chatting in as I go along. So just to start things off, right, to access the interface, you just type in the Unitrends appliance's IP address in your local browser. The first thing Unitrends customers see is a dashboard. And this dashboard and this UI in general, it's an HTML5-based interface. It's highly customizable. You can pick and choose which tiles you see. You can move tiles around. That information that's actually relevant and important to you is front and center. So in one place, in about 10 seconds when you sign in the morning, you see your backup summary, what you're protecting, if there were any errors. You see replication. You see your recovery summary, and you see that recovery assurance. This is that automated recovery testing piece of this. Here you can see, was the recovery from the backup successful? Did we meet that RPO and RTO goal that you had inputted into the test? And on top of that, we actually run executable tests that you choose within each client machine. So that test itself could be a custom PowerShell script. It could be a malware scan, a Windows service test, an Exchange DAG test, a SQL query with an expected output. So with this, you really understand, is the backup valid? Are you able to recover? Are you compliant with your RPO and RTO? And do the applications and files of those machines behave as you would expect as they would in production as well? So high-level summary information right when you sign in, give you all the information you need. And then on the top right, you'd see any alerts. You can see here that skull and crossbones gives you that ransomware alert. It's not just going to say, you might have ransomware in your environment. It gives you down to the exact client where the behavior of that machine from the backup data is abnormal and indicative of ransomware, allowing you to go in and do your own internal investigation and if required, isolate it and do a quick recovery. And if at any point throughout the solution you have questions or things aren't working as you would expect, you can always just open a support tunnel, call or chat into our support team. Our support engineers are the ones that answer the phone. There's no tiers of support. You call in a Unitrends support, you'll get an engineer within 3 rings. There's no auto teller, there's no hold music, just quick access to someone who can help solve your problem. Or if you're having a busy day or talking on the phone's not really your cup of tea, you can always go in and chat into support and address any issues you have through that chat functionality as well. So beyond high-level information, which is of course important to have, if you want more details on any of the things you see here, all you have to do is click on the tile. So if I were to click on these 9 successful tests that have occurred throughout our automated DR testing with recovery assurance, it'll bring you to the recovery assurance report. And there's a lot of different reports here that are generated, and you can customize the columns. You can drill into individual columns to isolate information that's important. And here, if I were to click on this test, this is what you would get through email as well. So just to kind of see how this looks, through email notification, you'll get step-by-step, same as the report, how the recovery test occurred, whether there were errors on spin-up, on configuration, on running that executable. So in this case, there was a little bit of an error on RPO, so now we just need to go in and change the frequency of those backups themselves. And here on the test on the appliance, it really gives you that full understanding of what the impact of a disaster would be. You can designate boot order and really give yourself the understanding that the backups are valid and the machines would behave as you would expect for both physical and virtual machines in a DR event. And just to kind of highlight here on reporting, a lot of different reporting options when it comes to your backup, recovery, replication, appliance health, storage utilization, replicas, and compliance. Gives you that summary information that you can customize and then export out to a PDF or CSV to get that information to people who care and where it's important. On the Configure tab, this is where you would connect the appliance to the outside world. Here on the appliance itself, I click Edit. You can create, email notification, different role-based access through AD grouping. So if you wanted to add users based on AD groups to go in and manage their own recoveries, you could edit the scope of that AD group so that they can only go in and recover from a particular file server, for example, and not have any ability to change backup schedules or replication or anything like that. Really kind of minimize the amount of tickets you might get in when it comes to recoveries. And then, of course, security is a huge piece here. We allow you to enable encryption with AES 256-bit encryption with your own passphrase as well, both at rest and on the fly. And in terms of the flexibility, Unitrends has unparalleled flexibility when it comes to writing data off to secondary media, whether it's to the Unitrends cloud, public cloud, NAS devices. We're hardware agnostic. We don't care what type of NAS or SAN you're using as long as we can connect to it through CIFS or NFS or even disk or tape through fiber or SAS. We're able to archive that data off to. And in terms of hot replication, we allow you to do what we call bandwidth throttling during the week. So you can set up a schedule so that during business hours during the week, you're not going to hog your bandwidth and have any negative impact to your business just because your backup data is replicating off-site. And when it comes to connecting to the assets that you're trying to protect, you can connect directly to a VM or physical server with our agent, put in the name and IP address of that machine. We can push the agent if it's a Windows machine, and you can even update all agents directly through the interface. You don't have to manage them on a client basis. As well as we have the ability to connect directly to virtual environments like VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, and AHV. We would connect directly to the hypervisor, put in the credentials, and then we can go in and manage the snapshotting process directly through that API connection of that virtual hypervisor. And then, sometimes there are calls for doing both. So say you want to protect your SQL server just directly from the hypervisor as a snapshot. You can do that here, as well as connect to it with an agent. And what the agent allows you to do is really isolate applications, give you more the search capabilities for file-level recovery. And so here with that SQL server, we can isolate individual databases, truncate those transaction logs, and give you a point-in-time restores on a per database level, even restoring databases back to secondary servers that are running SQL Server as well. So a lot of flexibility here. There's not one way of doing it, but it just depends on your use case, and we give you the tools and options to manage that in the best way possible. Now, when it comes to backup schedules themselves, Unitrends gives you a really easy way to manage the different SLAs that you as an IT department have with those different machines that you're protecting. Maybe different departments have different requirements. So in one place, you can go select all those machines, either agent-based, VMware, Hyper-V, AHV, and group them all based on RPO, based on retention requirements, whether you want to delete them after a certain amount of time, keep them mandatory for a certain amount of time on that appliance, as well as where is that data going after it's backed up. Is it going to go to a hot target, cold target? What's the retention on that cold target? Is that data encrypted on that cold media? So really in one place with very few clicks, you're able to manage both local backup, RPO frequency, retention, and offsiting that data all through one individual panel. And the really cool piece of this isn't that you're able to create backup jobs based on those SLAs, so that absolutely makes things a little bit easier, is where the rubber meets the road is through the data copy access test, you can actually confirm that you're meeting those RPOs. So you can go in and do a full environment DR test, automated every day, every hour, if need be, to really ensure that you're hitting those RPOs. Now for this example, just for simplicity's sake, I'll just pick a couple machines, maybe a SQL server and an Active Directory. You can create different profiles for different recovery point objectives, recovery time objectives that you may have, even do poster or custom scripts on this job as well. Choose the frequency, how often do you want this recovery test to occur, and then go in and really manage the options on the spin up. So what's the boot order? SQL Server in this case is going to boot second after AD. Where is it going to restore to? What network are you going to connect to? And this really allows you to choose a secondary isolated sandbox environment so that it doesn't impact production. And then you can go in and select the individual test you want to run, whether it's a SQL query in that instance or a PowerShell script, so that you understand that application data is valid as you would expect, and that your job based on those RPOs are actually hitting the RPOs that you need. Now, I joke around when I'm talking to folks that Unitrends isn't really a backup company. We're more of a bring it back company, and the recovery and the business continuity piece are really where these solutions shine and what we focus on. Of course, backing up data is important and critical, but if you're not recovering your data quickly and minimizing any impact to your business, what's the point of really even having backups themselves? So there were a lot of questions that came in about types of recoveries, about VM recoveries, hypervisor level recoveries, connections. So I'm just going to run through some of the questions I've seen and kind of answer them throughout. So Travis asked, how does a hypervisor recovery work, or a snapshot recovery? Really easily and quickly. So there's two ways you can quickly recover a VM. One is through our replica feature, and the replica feature allows you to pre-build VMware VMs or Windows virtual or physical servers out on secondary hosts. So you choose the VM that you want to pre-build. This replica will be offline on a secondary host. Choose the location of that host, either locally or on a secondary site. That machine is pre-built, it's offline, and then you can choose how many recovery points you want to be included on that. If there's a disaster, you just go and turn on that replica, and the recovery time is just as quick as it takes to boot on that machine. Now, not everybody has the resources necessary to pre-build replicas on secondary hosts. It requires secondary storage. Another really quick way is what we call instant recovery. Now, it's not instant. It's not as instant as a replica where it's already pre-built. You just turn it on. The reason it's instant and very quick is that instead of rebuilding that entire VM on the data store on a virtual environment, we actually use the appliance's resources. So we have an instant recovery allocation on the storage. We use that storage allocation for instant recovery, create an NFS share on that store, and then make an API call back to the hypervisor, stand up that machine, connect it to the NFS share, and then migrate it over to the existing data store on that hypervisor using vMotion. So just as an example, I'll do an actual VM recovery. When it comes to recovery speed, like per gigabyte, because we don't have to rebuild the entire machine on that host, I've seen incredibly large VMs, hundreds of gigabytes, being restored in under 5 minutes. And that's really feasible. It's how the recovery testing process works as well. With the DR as a service, we're able to guarantee your entire environment up in 1 hour in our cloud, in large part because we're utilizing native Unitrends tools. We pre-built your environment out as replicas, or we're using that instant recovery feature to quickly get things back up and running. So just to kind of quickly click instant recovery here, and choose audit mode to spin this machine up and with the NIC disconnected, so it won't overwrite the existing machine. You can even change the name on restore, so do that here. So we're going to restore the SQL Server to host 23. So it says here now that instant recovery job has started successfully. If you go to the instant recovery tab, we'll see that this job has now started. That NFS data store is being created. So if I jump to our vSphere environment quickly, see if I can even sign in before that VM is loaded in, because it's really in minutes here that this solution allows you to restore. Gotta love LastPass. Okay, so now that we're signed on to the vCenter, or vSphere client, so even just logging into vSphere here, I think is going to take longer than it'll take to restore this VM. So let's see here. So yep, that machine has now been powered on in less than a minute or two. Open this up so we can all see the different virtual machines in the environment. Here you can see that Burlab SQL _restore VM Veeam Unitrends has already been powered on, configured, and is accessible for us to run testing and go in and even turn on. So restore capabilities are really quick, both locally and in the cloud, with Unitrends Cloud with DRaaS as a service if you'd like. And then when you're done with that recovery, you can just tear it down through the UI, and that'll make an API call back to the hypervisor and tear it down there as well. Now, when it comes to file level recovery or application recovery, really easy. We can always go in and pick a point in time, recover files for virtual machines, for physical servers, just by going through the file tree. You can pick and choose where you want to restore that file to what server. Now, with our agent, we give you an added functionality that allows you to actually not only restore files based on the file location and in the file tree, but actually just by searching based on file name or file extension or date or even size. So through searching, we're able to go in, say the file server, we can find any PDF file. So not every ticket that comes in for a file of request do end users know exactly where the file is located or even what it's called. I know in IT that's generally how we think about systems, but if someone's in marketing, they might not think the same way when it comes to recovery. So we're able to go and find all those PDFs and restore it back to any server within your environment. And that flexibility applies not only to files, but also to applications. Of course, you can quickly spin up that entire application VM using instant recovery or replica, but if you've isolated those applications out or the databases out with our agent for SQL, or you can go into an individual database, and because we're truncating those transaction logs, we can restore that database to a secondary SQL server if we'd like, back to the original, and give you a specific point in time down to the minute to restore that individual database. You can even put in pre or post restore scripts as well. And so the granularity here is pretty impressive on the application level. It gives you granular restores for Exchange on the item level, SharePoint, OneDrive, and database level restores for Oracle or SQL. And I mentioned when it comes to the interface itself, there's no secondary cloud interface. All you have to do is filter by backup copy hot. That'll pull the data that we've replicated to the cloud. You can go in and see, now the timestamps are in purple. Go in and quickly recover files as if that data was hosted locally. So there's a bunch more feature sets within the solution. Want to make some time for questions here, so I'm going to give the ball back to Kevin to read through any questions that are remaining. Last point I wanted to make, because you can manage multiple solutions here on the Protect tab, it allows you to get a high-level summary on the past week from your backups, replication. If something wasn't protected, you'd see that here. If there were any issues, you could go in and view details, and this is where you can, if you want, get into the logs, or just go and open that support tunnel and reach out to our US-based support team, and then they can access those logs and get you set up back right as rain here. So again, kick it back to Kevin to read out any questions that have come in throughout the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Max. Yeah, we just got time for some few, but even if you have questions, feel free to chat them in. We'll be sure to follow up with you at the conclusion of today's webinar. So first question here goes to Megan. She was curious, for a replica on the secondary host, can you set it up for AWS?
That's a great question. And today, the Unitrends solution does not tie into the hypervisor in AWS, though I know VMware is increasing its prevalence within Amazon's cloud, so we'll certainly look into integration within that. We do allow DR within AWS with a solution called Boomerang that's secondary and included with our Enterprise Plus licensing. Boomerang is great for VMware environments locally, allows you to archive out to S3 or blob storage within Microsoft's cloud, and then in the event of a disaster, spin it up into EC2 or Compute Bucket and run out of those clouds and then bring it back to your local environment if you are looking or ready for failback. So Boomerang is a great option for DR in those public clouds. Otherwise, with the Unitrend solution for cloud-based DR, you would use the Unitrend cloud or your own private cloud with an instance of Unitrends there. You would have the same features and functionality, you just be the one managing.
Perfect. All right, so Tim has a question here. He says, I realize it wouldn't matter which appliance you use, but could you give me an idea of how many VMs you could run an appliance during a DR event?
Yeah, that's a great question, and Tim, you kind of answered that question within the question. It obviously just depends on the appliance. And the appliances that we sell are, at the end of the day, they are retention servers with our software laid in. We allow failover onto our appliances for Windows machines backed up with an agent, so even VMs that are backed up with our agent are able to fail over directly on that appliance. It really depends on the CPU and RAM and storage requirements that you have for those VMs and what's available on that box. Now, it is worth mentioning with the replica feature, it allows you to pre-build VMs on secondary hosts that you either have in production locally or on your secondary site. Those are the beefier appliances or servers that you'd actually want to be running your full environment. The appliances themselves, they're not magic box. It certainly depends on the configuration. And a backup server is not the same thing as a production server, so we want to help you utilize the resources you've already paid for, as well as give you the ability to do DR both in the cloud and on the appliance themselves. But if you're looking for a specific number, I would get on a call with a Unitrends technical rep, sales engineer. We can go through your environment and kind of recommend which appliances would make the most sense for that full environment failover.
All right, a couple more quick questions here. We'll go rapid fire. Kevin wants to know, does the appliance have an SFP Plus port?
Yes, it does. So if you were to go to the Unitrends website and click on our appliances, the data sheet there, which we can include on the email, Kevin, let's include that link, that highlights all the different connection ports, 10 gig, fiber, SFP Plus, RJ45, and the like to connect to those different environments. So yeah, absolutely.
For sure, yeah, we will include that with the recording of the webinar today, so be on the lookout for that. Micah here has a quick question. He wants to know, what is the minimum size of the appliances? So that would also probably be in that information as well. And let's see, Adam has another question.
Yeah, just to answer quickly on the call, the smallest appliances are 2 terabytes. So it ranges from 2 to 120. We also allow you to use our virtual appliance, which is just the Linux-based VM Unitrend software, and then you could use your own hardware. In that case, pretty much set up your own appliance, and that's just licensed out per CPU socket or physical resource.
Awesome. Yep, and there will be more information on that within the email as well. Adam just wants to know, how quickly does your solution identify threats such as ransomware?
So yeah, that's a great question, Adam, and it really depends on the frequency of backups, because the way we detect ransomware, it's not through like any heartbeat monitors. We are calculating normal behaviors based on the metadata in each backup, based on the change rate, the data entropy levels. If you're running a backup once a week, we're only going to know things are abnormal once a week. If you're running backup every 4 hours, every 6 hours, which is more common, then we'll know every time a backup comes through. Again, Unitrends itself we're not a security solution, but we are an incredibly secure way to back up your environment. So you're still going to want to utilize firewall and next-gen antiviruses and the like, but we do give you that added layer of security being built on Linux and having the ransomware detection built in based on the backup metadata itself.
All right, thank you, Max. Yeah, I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we are going to just have one more question here. But if you do have any questions, we'll leave the bridge open so you guys can chat those in, and we'll be sure to follow up with you offline today. So last question goes to Tim. He wants to know if you support 10 gigabyte interfaces on the appliance.
Yep, absolutely, especially with our larger appliances. That'll all be included on the appliance data sheet that Kevin will send out in the follow-up email. And I know Kevin did say that was the last question, but I do just want to read a quick question I see from Megan. Do you have a demo area that we can log into to see how the solution works? At this point, the way to really demo out the solution and get your hands on it is to download and deploy our solution as a trial. So the solution you see here today, it deploys as a Linux-based VM. We have evaluation engineers that can walk you through demos or even pair with you to set up the solution in your environment, walk through a proof of concept. So that was actually my role at Unitrends before working with marketing on webinars and events, was helping people trial out our solution in their environment and really understand if the Unitrends solution will work well for you and your environment and your particular needs. So absolutely reach out, either sales@unitrends.com or give us a call, and we can connect you to an evaluation engineer to troubleshoot and work with you to ensure all the solution itself works well in your environment. So I know a demo lab environment is something we're working on and something that should be coming out within a year. Great question.
Awesome. Yeah, and just to follow up with that too, I got a message from Tim here that he wanted me to tell Megan that he's actually doing the trial right now, and it's very easy to set up. So very quick and painless. Just go on our website and find that trial. All right, so that will do it. I will leave the bridge open. So if you have any follow-up questions or if you want to know anything else, feel free to still chat in. We're going to leave the bridge open just for about 2 to 3 minutes here while we wind down, and we'll be sure to follow up with you at the conclusion. Again, thank you, Max, for all your time today. I know that you're always super busy, so we very much appreciate you jumping on today's call. Just a couple of quick reminders before we sign off. We did record this. We will send it out, and we'll be sure to get that information sent out in the email as well, so be on the lookout for that. Secondly, we will be reaching out to the $500 Amazon gift card winner once we close down today, so be on the lookout. Maybe you'll be the lucky winner today. And lastly, again, if you have not, go ahead and like us on LinkedIn, Facebook, follow us there. We're constantly doing events such as this one, giveaways, educational events, and that should pretty much do it for today. We'll give you guys, looks like we're just 1 minute over, so we'll get you guys on with the rest of your day. So thank you for joining, and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, everybody. If you have any other questions, I did put my email in the chat section, so you can reach out directly to me if you have any other questions about the solution. Have a great day, everybody.